Namaste, it's Gayatri Dasi again for our vegan cooking class at ASMY. We just had a bit of a problem with the sound in the last one, so we are redoing it. So it's take 3 actually. You know how you have one of those days where just everything goes wrong? That's one of those afternoons today. But hopefully things will change from now on and I won't flop this. Anyway, but I can't because I've already made one. So it's already done. So we're going to make a 1 bowl vegan banana bread. It's a really tasty bread and it's really moist, it rises up really well, and it's very, very simple to make. Even the kids can make it. So we'll get started. We're going to start with 2 bananas mashed up really well. They need to be quite ripe and medium size bananas. You don't want them too big or too small. So about medium, mashed until they go creamy. So we'll add that to the bowl. And then we've got 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. So we're going to pop that in. Give that a bit of a mix. And I forgot to mention that we have some flax eggs, which are vegan. They are just soaking here. So flaxseed meal, 2 tablespoons in 5 tablespoons of water. Just let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. So it's good to start with this. Do this before you start and you prepare everything, and then it's ready to go in. And it will sort of thicken up. It goes sort of gelatin-like, gelatinous, is that the word? Yeah, thick. So it's our binding agent for this bread rather than using eggs. You can use that in most cakes. Okay, so we've got melted butter. Now we're up to our sugar. We've got 3, how much have we got? We have 2/3 of a cup of brown sugar, or you can use coconut sugar if you prefer. We have 1/4 of a cup of plant-based milk. Also, if you're not a vegan, you could just use regular butter. We've got 1/4 of a cup of milk here, plant-based. If you're not vegan, regular milk will do. Any type of milk, almond, soy, you name it. Any sort of liquid. And if you were really stuck, you could even use water, and I think the recipe would work just as well. Just need that bit of moisture in there. Okay, so just make sure it's all mixed through well. It's actually good. It looks like caramel, that brown sugar. Okay, and now we'll add our dry ingredient. We'll add our flax egg now. So it's nice and thick. You can see that. Sort of like glutinous. So we'll stick that in there. Mix it through. And then we'll add our dry ingredients. So we've got 2 cups of plain flour, all-purpose plain flour. Don't need to sift it. And we have our bicarb soda, or baking soda as it's otherwise known, 1 teaspoon. We have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I like to use the Himalayan salt, but any salt will be fine. And we've got nutmeg, 1/4 teaspoon. Make sure that you don't use too much nutmeg. If you go overboard with the nutmeg, it can make your cake very, very bitter. So we just want a little bit of that, 1/4 teaspoon. And we're going to fold this through. Once you're adding the flour to the cake, you don't want to mix it too much, because it will make the cake go rubbery. We don't like rubbery cakes or breads. This is actually a bread, but it's sort of a bready cake really. No yeast or anything in banana bread. It's more like a sweet. So we're just folding that through until we mix the flour in and those ingredients are well combined. Okay, and then we're just going to fold through some chopped chips. I've got 3/4 of a cup of chopped chips, vegan chopped chips, or non-vegan if you're vegetarian. So we're going to pop them in. They're really expensive. The vegan chopped chips are very expensive, except at Costco. You can buy a whole bag, a kilo bag or a couple of kilos. I'm not sure. It's a big bag anyway, about this big, for $12. So worth a trip to Costco, get your chopped chips. they're semi-sweetened. And I like a bit of crunch in my cake. I love nuts in cakes and breads, so I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of walnuts as well. I'm just going to fold this through gently. They don't need to be mixed through too well. Okay, that should be enough. And then we've got a loaf tin. I actually prefer the Pyrex glass ones myself. But we have a tin here at the center, so we're going to use that. And it's just a regular size loaf tin, not large, not small, just a regular size. We'll put the dimensions in the recipe when we put it up later this afternoon. So we'll just, that's all we have to do now, is just put it in. So scoop it into that loaf tray. Just flatten it out a bit. And I'm going to put some chopped chips on top, or you can put walnuts, chopped walnuts if you prefer. And then this goes into a moderate oven, so around about 180, 170, 180, depending on your oven, for 50 minutes. So when you test it, I would check it at about 45 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. And if the top is firm to touch and it sort of bounces back, you know it's pretty well ready. For a second test, pop a sharp knife in if it comes out clean, or a toothpick. And if it comes out clean, then the cake is ready. You've got to stick it right in the middle of the cake. Sometimes cakes or loaves tend to brown too much on the outside if your oven's not the best. So I used to have an oven like that. So what I'd do is, it hadn't quite cooked in the middle, but the outside was browning too much. I would turn the oven off and leave it in until the oven cooled right down, and that was usually enough just to cook the last bit of that inside inner part of the cake or loaf. So that goes into the oven now. And we have our finished product here. So I'm going to just cut this and show you how nice that bread is. Now, if you can't find chopped chips, you can't get to Costco, it's too expensive, just grab some of the chocolate bars, the choc slabs from Aldi. They're about $2.90, and there's different flavors. There's orange, peppermint, plain, all sorts of flavors, and just chop them up, because as you can see, you can't see the chopped chips anyway. They've sort of merged and swirled in there anyway because they've melted. And you could do the same on the top. You could just chop them and pop them on the top before you put them in the oven. Or you could leave the chopped chips out altogether if you prefer, and just put the walnuts in. It's actually not a very sweet cake, which is good for some people. If it's not sweet enough, just add a bit more brown sugar. But I find with the chopped chips it makes it quite sweet, so it should be perfect. So I hope you enjoy this banana bread. And if you're coming to the lunchroom tonight, this is what we're going to be serving out, seeing we've made 3 of them now. With our last video, there was a horrible sound, so we had to redo it. So I hope this one works out, and I hope you enjoy making it. If you do, please let us know in the comments below. We love to see it when people see that people are actually making these recipes. It makes it worthwhile for us. And I'll see you next week again. Thank you very much. Haribol.